More on the Motor Racing Network.
So you need a credit card, but how do you choose? Let's compare the big banks to Florida Credit Union. They have rewards, and we do too. They have customer service. Hello, 24/7. They have celebrities. Hey, Danny. But with Florida Credit Union, there's no annual fee, no liability for fraudulent charges, and no 22% interest rates. Choose Florida Credit Union, and you'll not only have a great credit card, but you'll have the support and personal touch that the big banks, well, can't touch. Florida Credit Union, connecting your money to your life. Federally insured by the NCUA.
All right, 12 minutes before 8 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Beautiful looking Monday morning. Hope your weekend went well. Had a good practice session yesterday. Robin and I went to Silver Springs. I love practicing at Silver Springs because you always hear people tell you that the music wafts its way. They don't use the word waft. That's my word.
No.
But the music makes its way across the water. People on their kayaks get to give us feedback on it. It's kind of sweet.
But it was nice because the one couple came up to us.
Beautiful.
And they said, "Oh, it's live music." And
Yeah,
the
they thought
fellow
it was-
was telling his wife because he thought it was all piped in, and they were across the river there. So that was a great compliment. Thank you.
All right, so let's see. I want to tell you about, before I get to this thing about hacking into an airplane.
Okay.
There was this thing I was watching videos on and reading, and it's regarding the Citicorp building in New York City. Now, this is really not me talking about New York City because I somehow like that city. But it's more of an interest because of the design. If you're interested in engineering, etc., this is a very interesting story, especially when you realize that the engineers or the architects who designed the Citicorp building, which, by the way, they changed the name of it to they took the name away. Really,
Oh.
it's now simply called the 601 Lexington building.
Oh, okay.
Just by the address. I don't like when they do that.
No.
But anyway, so the Citicorp building, if you don't know which one it is, when it was built in 1977, it was the 7th largest or tallest building in the world. Mm-hmm. It is the one with the 45-degree angle roof. Mm-hmm. It's that big slanted roof one.
Okay.
Okay. Now, have you ever seen the bottom of it? Have you ever seen the base of this building?
Never.
It's on stilts.
That is cool.
It's on 9-story tall stilts. That's 90 feet of non-building. 90 feet. The reason they did this is because there was a church on that property. Mm-hmm. And they were allowed to build over the church, but not on the church. The church is called St. Peter's Lutheran Church. This is a fascinating story.
It is, very.
And so the engineers, the architects, whoever designed this building, missed something, and it was a student in New Jersey who did some mathematical genius figuring and discovered that if there was a wind of a certain speed, it could blow the building down because of those placement of those stilts, and it wouldn't fall on its own footprint the way the World Trade Center towers fell on their own footprint. It would fall like a domino and could literally destroy the New York City skyline. So it was a student from New Jersey who figured this out and who told somebody who finally listened to him and realized he was right.
Yeah.
Now, when this building was built, let me just tell you a little bit about the building. When it was built in 1977, it was 59 stories tall, the 7th largest building in the world. It's got that 45-degree angle top, so if you're familiar with the skyline of New York, you know what it looks like. At the base of the building, there are 9 floors, 9 stories worth, I should say, of stilts, but they're not on the corners. Mm-hmm. Just imagine a chair. You got 4 corners on the chair, right? Instead of the legs being on the 4 corners, each of the legs is in the middle of the sides.
Yeah, I would topple on that.
Okay, so the corners are not supported. Mm-hmm. It's the middle of each side that is supported by the 4. Okay. So that right there is like, whoa, that doesn't look right. But you would say, well, they must know what they're doing, right?
Yeah, they're architects.
The architect was Hugh Stubbins. Most of the credit for this building is given to Chief Structural Engineer William Lemessurier. Okay?
Okay.
The design originated with the need to accommodate St. Peter's Lutheran Church, which occupied one corner of the building site at 53rd Street and Lexington Avenue. It's just slightly uptown from what you call Midtown. Anyway, Le Mesurier called the church a crummy old building. I hate when people make fun of other buildings, by the way.
Yeah.
Or other things.
I know.
He called it the lowest point in Victorian architecture. Mm-hmm. The condition that St. Peter's gave to Citicorp was that they build the church a new building in the same location. Mm-hmm. You can build your building here, but you have to build us a new church on our site.
Good for them.
Okay. By the way, you called it a crummy old building, so give us something better.
Yeah.
So the condition was that St. Peter's, St. Peter's gave to Citicorp, they build a new building in the same location, provided that corner of the lot not be touched. Mm-hmm. So the church says, don't touch our corner of the lot. So in order to do that, they have to build over that corner of the lot, but not put a stilt or a pillar on their property. Gosh. Which they succeeded in doing.
How did they get away with doing that for code?
I don't know.
Wow.
So the company was free to build their skyscraper around the church and in the airspace above it, but not on their ground. Le Mesurier said he got the idea for the design while sketching on a napkin at a Greek restaurant.
All great ideas come from napkins, yes.
9-story stilts. 9-story tall stilts suspend the building over St. Peter's Church. Okay, so now you understand how it looks, right? If you can mentally picture that. If you're familiar with the area, then good. I've been familiar with that building, I guess, as long as it's been there, but I've never actually gone to the location. I've never actually looked at it. I had no idea there was a church under it. Anyway, to support the structure, because it was less than stable, they created what they call chevrons. It's a chevron bracing structure. Now, let me explain what a chevron is. A chevron is a V, and they build these concrete and steel Vs, okay, that are 8 stories tall, and they're not upside down, but the V is right. The V is like a V, and
like an upside down pyramid.
Like an upside down pyramid. Right, but so at the bottom of the V is 8 stories lower than the top of the V, and they do this every 8 stories. They do another, what do you call them again? A chevron.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
At the top of the building, listen to this. Mm-hmm. At the top of the building, there is what they call a tuned mass damper. Okay, tuned, not tunes.
Okay.
I had it wrong before. A tuned mass damper. It is basically a 400-ton block of concrete.
Wow.
That is that has been maneuvered by machines so that when the wind blows, this device pushes that 400-ton piece of concrete one way or the other so that it counteracts the effect of the wind.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
In 1978, an undergraduate architect student contacted him with a bold statement that Le Mesurier's building, the Citicorp building, could blow over in the wind.
Wow.
The student, whose name was not in the report, somewhere out there's a hero we need to recognize.
Yeah, of course.
Was studying the Citicorp Center and had found that the building was vulnerable to quartering winds. Those are winds that strike the building at its corners. Because there's nothing holding the corners up. Normally, buildings are the strongest at their corners, and it's the perpendicular winds that strike the building and its faces that cause the greatest strain. But this was not a normal building. Anyway, he had accounted for the perpendicular winds, Le Mesurier did, but not the quartering winds. He checked the math and found that the student was right.
Wow.
He compared the velocity winds the building could withstand with weather data and found that a storm strong enough to topple the Citicorp building hits New York City every 55 years.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
So they had to do something right away. The tuned mass damper keeps the building stable, but it really wasn't put there for safety purposes. It was put there for the comfort of the people in the building. Mm-hmm. Because if you're ever in one of these tall buildings, the World Trade Center did the same thing. Probably the new one does the same thing.
Yeah.
They sway in the wind.
Exactly.
My mom and dad had a friend who worked in one of the World Trade Center towers. He retired before it was attacked, but he retired in part because it was ADT that he worked for.
Oh.
A bird almost just flew into our window.
Yeah, but he's okay.
All right.
Thank God.
So anyway, before the building were attacked, because he had moved from a much smaller building. ADT was in a much smaller building down on 7th, I believe.
Okay.
And so he was not used to this very, very tall place, and it was swaying, and he was getting what's it called again? Vertigo?
Vertigo, yeah.
He was getting vertigo, so he retired. He was old enough to retire anyway, so he moved out of there. But he used to always complain about the thing swaying.
Yeah, people didn't feel it.
So this tuned mass damper stops this building. Well, it doesn't stop it, but it kind of dampers is good. Mm-hmm. I guess that's why they have the word damper in it. And anyway, so Lemasurier and his team worked with Citicorp to coordinate emergency repairs with the help of the New York Police Department. They had a plan to evacuate a 10-block radius should the thing fall. They took a survey to find out who would have to be to be dug out in case it did fall, including a peep show that was at the floor at the street level. Anyway,
right by the church.
Just so I can finish this up, they have since supposedly repaired it, and what they had to do is they had to put braces on these things that I just told you about called the chevrons, the big V's.
Uh-huh.
They had to they had welders, and the welders would go in there in the middle of the night when there was nobody in the building. Mm-hmm. And every time they did their job, they would be done by the time people came in the morning, and nobody knew.
Wow.
And coincidentally, the newspapers went on strike during this whole thing, so nobody was reporting on it.
Oh my gosh. Weren't they
and that
lucky?
was important for them because they didn't want this to be public knowledge. Now it is.
Yeah, but it's all fixed now,
but it's all fixed. That's what they say.
Yeah.
My thinking is this. If the building won't fall into its own footprint, and terrorists will now know about this because the story came out.
Right.
I don't know. That's a scary scenario right there.
Very scary.
All right, we'll take a little break. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pam Huso. Amtrak trains are rolling again between New York and Philadelphia nearly a week after a